Hello, hello, friends, and happy Zodiac New Year. The true astrological New Year began when the sun entered the sign of Aries on March 20th, marking the spring season, the beginning of Aries season, and yeah, the true astrological New Year. So happy New Year to you. Happy birthday to my Aries friends. Go ahead and sit back, relax. Welcome to this new background and environment. I'm a little overly excited about having a microphone for no particular reason besides yay, I have a microphone. And let's get started. So this Aries new moon and eclipse is really interestingly happening at the start of this new zodiac season, this new astrological new year. And as many of you know, eclipses are essentially amplified versions of new and full moons. So we're essentially having this more intensified version of a new moon where it's seen as this cosmic doorway being opened for us, this cosmic portal in a lot of ways. And also interestingly enough, we see that Neptune will be entering the sign of Aries within 24 hours of this Aries eclipse. And by the way, Neptune is one of the outer planets. It's one of the slowest moving planets, and it hasn't changed signs in over 11 years, y'all. And as it enters Aries, it's going to go back into Pisces. It's going to go back into it later on in the year, I believe. But ultimately, it's going to be staying in Aries long term until 2038, y'all. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of stuff happening in the sign of Aries. And depending on your chart, there's a lot of stuff happening in a certain house in your chart right now. So we're going to be doing custom forecasts for all signs. So let's get into it. I'm also really excited for this video because I usually work off of a teleprompter. I usually type out everything. I essentially write an article every single video and then I read it off just to stay on track. But I kind of realized that it's hard for me to have my personality and be more kind of creative and allow for readings to come out in the moment that feel inspired as I'm recording. So I'm really excited to dive into that with you. But welcome in, y'all. This is Alina Align. Welcome to the channel. And over here, we talk all things alignment. So not only aligning with these lunations, but aligning with astrology as a whole, aligning with the seasonal changes. We're going to dive into a few tips that I have for just aligning with this energetic shift and alignment with our intuition. There we go. I'm working hard on allowing this to flow, not saying too many just kind of letting things flow. I also wanted to mention in celebration of the astrological new year, considering that essentially 1/4 of the year has passed already, crazy, kind of, I'm doing a really big sale on all of the 2025 astrology planners and wall calendars that I design, the R-Line planners. So if you've been waiting on that, they're 40% off right now. You can actually get them for 50% off if you bundle them with the first ever spring transit guide. It's a digital download. So if you're anywhere in the world, you don't have to worry about shipping or anything, really low cost. And it's custom transit forecasts for you, custom to your rising sign. So have you ever seen like, oh wait, Neptune is entering Aries. What does that mean for me? Wait, I'm in Aquarius rising. Let me go on my app. Let me scroll on Instagram. Let me go on TikTok and see if the algorithm shows. None of that. You download it and you have every single top transit of the spring season. And that's about 25 transits custom to your sign, all in one downloaded PDF. And yeah, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. I'm so excited about it. And with that said, let's dive in. All right, so on March 29th, we will see a partial solar eclipse happening at 9 degrees in the cardinal fire sign of Aries, y'all. So very interesting. And Aries season in general is this really potent window of time where the sun is in the sign of Aries, and it's really signifying this energy of action, being action oriented. We want to really look at the ruling planet of Aries around this time being Mars and see where it's at in general if you want deeper context into the nature of this season. But in general, Aries, again, is a cardinal sign. Fun fact for anybody who's newer to astrology, all signs that are cardinal are signs that usher in a new season. So think about Cancer season. Cancer season starts at the beginning of summer season. Libra season begins at the beginning of fall season, and so on and so forth. Capricorn, winter season. And we have Aries here, this cardinal sign, this leader, starting not only this brand new astrological new year, but it's the first zodiac sign of all of the zodiac signs. It's number one. It's symbolized by the element of fire, symbolized by cardinal. Think of an eagle, think of a bird pushing forward, right? And so in the context of this solar eclipse and new moon, we know that new moons in general mark the beginning of new lunar cycle, but also this new cycle within us, within our own lives. It signifies these things. And with it being in the sign of Aries, signified by number one, this leader, this initiator, this Mars-ruled action-oriented sign, this really signifies for many of us this new cycle, astrologically and seasonally, where we're finally looking at putting actionable steps in alignment with ideas that have been, permeating and sort of marinating in our minds, especially over the later part of the winter season here in the Northern Hemisphere. Think about a plant. Think about a seed that is planted, and it's just now that things are starting to germinate. Think about, I believe the last full moon, it was also called the worm moon. And it's called that because it signifies the fact that the temperatures in the Northern Hemisphere are warming up enough that the soil is warm enough for worms to start moving around and helping to, really populate and fortify and help the soil. Okay. So anyway, all that to say, for this new moon, it basically symbolizes this new chapter for many of us where we're finally initiating something. We're finally putting action, whether that's words, whether that's a new action plan, into motion in alignment with our intentions. And again, we're going to get more customized into it depending on your sign. Now, let's talk about the eclipse a bit. So like I mentioned before, solar eclipses are essentially amplified versions of new moons. In general, they always happen when the sun and moon come together in the same sign, throwing this party, really magnifying anything in that realm of your chart, right? So think about where in your chart, what house is in the sign of Aries? What planets are in Aries? So those are the things that are being activated right now in a lot of ways. Now, with that said, new moons in general are seen as this optimal time for intention setting, right? And just as we see that the light builds on the surface of the moon over the course of this lunar cycle following this eclipse and new moon, so too can the momentum around the intentions that you set also build. And this is why people use things like the Auraline astrology planner. This is why I designed it this way, where every month has customized new moon journal areas. By the way, I'm in a hanging chair. I'm really excited about this. Whatever. Anyway, so with that said, let's go ahead and talk about some of the top transits happening around the time of this lunation to sort of paint a picture of what is likely to unfold around this time, the general vibe that's going to be playing out around this time. Okay, y'all. So the first transit that I want to talk about is that Neptune, literally the day before it enters Aries. So at its 29th degree in Pisces, right before it goes over to 0 degrees going into Aries, it's going to form a conjunction with Mercury. Mercury is also currently in Pisces. When Neptune, the planet of dreams, imagination, deep spirituality, shadow work, and, not having your feet on the ground, really, having your heads in the clouds, illusion, sometimes even confusion. When that planet comes together in its ruling sign of Pisces, with Mercury, the planet of communication, information exchange, the internet, conversation, opening up, learning, teaching, all things of air, right? Conversation. When it comes together with Neptune, it basically creates this really potent window, especially in the 29th degree, and I'll talk about why. It forms this really potent window for us to finally put words to spiritual downloads, to things that we've been picking up on intuitively over time and we didn't fully understand where it was. We can finally sort of communicate that. Maybe people come to you and they say, hey, I had this dream. This happens to some people. Hey, I had this dream about you, X, Y, and Z, just so you know. Think about those type of spiritual conversations. Think about conversations that have to do with expressing and sharing creative ideas and connecting with people on that level. When Neptune and Mercury in general come together in that way, especially in Pisces, there's really this more spiritual, creative bend to conversations that can arise around the time of this new moon. And with with it being in the 29th degree, it's this final degree, and it's really this signification or this indicator that the things that do come up are these final conclusions where it's like, finally, I get the direction where I need to go. And so very interesting. So pay attention to that. But I also want to give a caveat for many of you around the time of this new moon leading up to the 29th and so on and moving forward past it, which is that both Venus and Mercury are retrograde right now. So it's not necessarily going to be like, oh, easy flowing for everyone necessarily. And so it will be important to pay attention to that. And also leading up to this eclipse, we see that both signs will be retrograding back into Pisces. So they were in Aries, but before this eclipse, they will be retrograding back into Pisces. So they'll be circling back to something. So when it comes to our communication, when it comes to our collaborative nature, when it comes to our relationships, you might notice a theme around this time where boop, hello, an ex pops their head back in. Maybe you're the ex who feels called to pop your head back in. Nobody talks about that perspective, but where there's some type of situation where we're being invited or we kind of have to circle back to something. And it's important to take note that if you notice around the time of this lunation that you need to circle back to something, don't just brush that off. Especially during retrogrades in general with any planet. Usually the mishaps that happen around the time of a retrograde are tied to a calling for us to slow down and for us to circle back to something, because it's actually really important for us to understand or get clear on or finally organize or finally reflect on, finally sit down and look at it for what it is, And so, especially because Venus is retrograde and it'll be in Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, and this is a sign of deep emotions. This is a water sign. Mercury is also entering a water sign as well. It seems like for many of us, this new chapter that we might be entering into or these steps that we're taking might come with a bit of baggage. It might ignite within us. Have you ever had an experience where you finally get to do something? You're like, whoa, oh my gosh, okay, there's this opportunity. Okay, or wow, I got this job, or wow, this new thing is happening for me. Wow, this person who I likes me back. And you essentially have the ability to step into this new chapter. And then it actually kind of triggers within you this realization of maybe a comfort zone that you were used to that now you need to actually step out of in order to realize and live within and manifest the thing that you wanted deep down. That's what it's feeling like might be coming up for many of us. But again, we're going to dive into what this looks like uniquely for each rising sign. The other transit that's happening around this time is, again, Neptune is entering Aries the next day on March 30th. This is incredible. That Neptune has been in Pisces since April of 2011, y'all. April of 2011. And again, Neptune is this sign of illusion, spirituality, imagination. Think escapism. Think of creative flow. Think of throwing yourself into another world. And the main things to know as Neptune enters Aries, and by the way, it's going to be in Aries until 2039. It'll be poignant to know that the overarching sort of theme for the collective will be that there will be a lot more action, drive, and on one side of the coin, selfishness, on the other side of the coin, a sense of leadership in advocating for yourself and others when it comes to our creative expression. So essentially, between now and over the course of basically now through 2039 or 2038, I might be mixing it up, but I'm pretty sure it's 39. There's going to be an overarching theme of essentially a utilization of the arts to speak and advocate for ourselves and others. We're going to see that, especially when it comes to sort of social pushback in a lot of ways. There's going to be a lot more drive there. But there's going to be a lot more, in general, you'll likely feel it within yourself, a lot stronger confidence when it comes to putting yourself out there, especially when it comes to your creative ideas, with your spiritual ideas, just really pushing for what you want. Because again, Aries is this cardinal fire sign. It's fiery, it's pushy. It's about, what about me? And so seeing this very spiritual, creative, imaginative planet in the sign of Aries really signifies that. And then the other thing too is that it signifies it's a collective. We're going to really value more courage, more innovation, more independence. But on the downside, there's a higher likelihood for self-delusion. This is what I wanted to get into. Okay, sorry. I hope I'm not yelling too loud into my mic. But this is what I really wanted to get into, is that Neptune being in Aries is really indicating this time where it's going to feel a lot easier for us to be delusional. Okay. It's going to be a lot easier for us to be delusional because Aries signifies the self, our self-identity, how we view ourselves, what has to do with the ego. And on one side of the coin, as many of you know, most people out there who get what they want and who achieve whatever it is they want, they can be famous or they cannot be. You know, they could be rich or they could not be, whatever. The type of people that you see who say, hey, I'm going to go do that. And then they go do it. And you're like, whoa, a few years ago, you said you were going to do it and you went and do it, did it. A through line with many of these people, including myself, I'd like to think that I'm like this, is this ability to be a delusional, to be like, you know what? Why not me? Why not me? I'm going to go try it. And not always having your feet so grounded in reality and that you identify with just the immediate people or ideas around you, but you think higher. In order to think higher, you have to have imagination. In order to believe that you can live within that world in your imagination, you got to be a little delusional, right? And so Neptune entering Aries is signifying this overarching theme over the next 10 plus years, 13 plus years of seeing what we want and really going for it. And that's on one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that we likely will see more of an overarching theme of being a little bit too self-deluded. Some people being a little bit too selfish and things like that. So it's just something to consider and be aware of, that there's two sides of the coin there. But ultimately, if you're feeling driven, it's the start of the spring season, new eclipse, solar eclipse, new moon. This is a great time to tap into that drive of really connecting your imagination, your ideas, your dreams with that fire Aries energy, because there's a lot of astrological energy there for you. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into these custom readings for each zodiac sign. I always recommend that you go to your rising sign. Some people ask why. Why the rising sign over the sun sign or the moon sign? Based on your rising sign, we can determine what sign every house is in your natal chart. So let's say that you're an Aries rising. That tells me that your first house is Aries, your second house is Taurus, your 12th house is Pisces. Let's say that you're a Taurus rising. That tells me that your first house is Taurus, your 12th house is Aries, and so on and so forth. And based off of that, I can determine what house a lunation or any given transit is transiting in your unique chart. Okay, so that's why I always suggest the rising sign. Based off of your sun sign, that will more so signify how this lunation might impact you more on an egoic level, on a career level. If you want to look based off of your moon sign, it will indicate what will happen likely in the more emotional relationship aspect of your life. But again, I always suggest rising, but you can do whatever you like. Do all three and see which one resonates with you most. So for example, for me, I have a stellium. I'm not even going to say in what sign. In fact, I'm going to let you guess. I'm going to let you guess down below. I have a stellium in one of my houses. And that's not the same house as my first house where my ascendant is, my rising sign. And so sometimes I like to listen to where that stellium is, what sign that stellium is in. By the way, a stellium is when you have, I believe it's 2 or 3 or more planets all in one house in your chart, indicating that there's a lot of energy in that place. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear your guesses. Anyway, with that said, go ahead and skip over to your sign in the description below, and I will see you there. Hello, and welcome into my Aries friends. Okay, so sorry, my chin just bumped this, and I don't know if it made a loud noise or not. So this Aries eclipse and new moon will be activating your first house of self-identity, of your body, of your personal health, and essentially your relationship with yourself, how you see yourself, and how you choose to move through the world. Now, with this new moon being in this house, we see that the sun and moon are activating your first house, right? And so this is signifying this new chapter and this portal right now where you can step into it with intentions, especially if they are around your self-identity, how you conduct yourself in the world, how you view yourself. Think about limiting beliefs. Think about having a growth mindset. Think about times where you might have stepped outside of your comfort zone, or you've even thought about it, and that really highlighted for you through triggering, oh, this is a little uncomfy, where you can more clearly identify what you are and aren't comfortable with, and whether or not you want to expand your comfort zone in some way to grow. With this solar eclipse, this is really marking a powerful time for you to step into a new chapter, especially at the beginning of the spring season, taking steps that are in confidence, in alignment, and in confident in who you are. And yeah, so this can be a really great time for that. But overall, especially over the next 6 months, you'll likely see a lot of themes that have you pause to reflect on your identity. And I think that could show up in general. We are community-based organisms, right? So whoever we are around really informs us as to who we are, whether that's you being around people that you don't agree with, or you don't vibe with, or you don't move in the same way as them. That informs you, and that, you know what? Oh, this really highlighted for me that I don't like this thing. Or you're with people who you totally vibe with and inspire you and make you expand as a person. And you're like, wow, I love these things. And through being around these people, I identify that. And so when you see a lunation, especially a new moon, especially an eclipse in the first house, you'll likely see themes around boundaries. Boundaries of, this is who I am, this is how I conduct myself, and this is how I don't conduct myself. Oh, you guys want to do this? I can't go. Why? I don't really want to. Those are the type of things. And when you lean into your boundaries, Aries friends, that's how you mold who you are. When you get clear on what you do and don't want and what your priorities are, that is what creates the ripple effect of, once you know what your priorities are, then you know how to plan. Then you know how to actualize things. I actually recently had to do that. Anyway, we also see the next day on the 30th, Neptune will be entering your first house. And so Neptune, this planet of illusions, creativity, dreams, spirituality, things like that, when it enters this sign, on one side of the coin, it can indicate that over the next 13 years, you might have a few more challenges when it comes to your self-identity, where maybe things change around you and you have to question, do I even like what I have created, this life that I've created? Do I love it? Oh my gosh, wow, this is so great. How can I expand upon it? Wow, I didn't realize the skill that I had that has this ripple effect with other people. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot more feedback around your identity, who you are, what you stand for, and also your health, namely your health. The first house involves the body, right? And so on one side of the coin, there might be more situations that cause confusion. And on the other side of the coin, these situations can also help you to strengthen your identity, strengthen who you are, and strengthen your ability to set boundaries between you and what other people do, and not get too enmeshed in certain environments that you don't even fully identify with, that maybe you were going along to get along with in the past. So yeah, that is my reading for you, my Aries friends. I'm sending you my love. Be sure to check out the spring transit guide. And yeah, let me know what you think about this new background and the microphone and the less teleprompter format. Okay, bye. Hello to my Taurus friends. So this solar eclipse and new moon and Neptune the following day will all be activating your 12th house of spirituality, dreams, shadow work, of being away from people. You know, what is it? It's not seclusion, but essentially when you kind of take time away, think of a sabbatical almost. You know, the 12th house is the final house of the zodiac, obviously. It signals the last stage of life, you know, when you're really stopping to reflect upon everything you did in life. It's the house of karma. Some people describe it as a house of hidden enemies as well. And since this is this huge, really amplified version of a new moon, this cosmic doorway, this new chapter, this is signifying a new 6-month cycle until we see an Aries full moon in 6 months, but also an 11th year cycle with Neptune entering Aries, entering your 12th house, of there being a lot more situations that highlight your relationship with spirituality, your relationship between this dimension, this realm, and the next, your relationship with, think of dream journaling. So during this new moon, this can be a great time for intention setting and getting clear on what is your relationship with your more spiritual side? What is your relationship with dreaming? What is your relationship with, your idea of karmic cycles? You know, are there any relationships in your life that you deem to be karmic cycles? You know, we have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, especially with Venus retrograde, it can highlight karmic relationships around this time as well. And it can get us into a more introspective mode. You know, new moons in general are a time for rest and reflection, and it's transiting your house. That is the epitome of rest and reflection, being the 12th house. But with it being in Aries, there's this energy of drive and fire within this realm. So now can be a really great cosmic window for taking aligned steps or really planning things out in terms of how you want to walk through and move through your more spiritual aspects of life. And that includes think of your more karmic closures as well. Think of things that you've been feeling called to do. You're like, oh, I feel meant to do this. That's karma, baby. You're being called to get into that karmic space. And karma isn't always negative. Literally, it's both positive. It can be positive and negative. So don't think, oh, karmic, karmic relationships, it's not all negative. It can be very, very powerful. So now is a powerful time for reflecting on that. We also see that Neptune is entering your 12th house in Aries. So that is basically signifying, on one side of the coin, it can mean that you dive even deeper into your spiritual practices, because Neptune is the planet of spiritual relationships, of deeper dimensions, of, again, dreaming. Think about astral projection. Think about lucid dreaming. And if you don't even believe in or fully understand astral projection, think about lucid dreaming. And even from a psychological perspective, dreams can be this way for our subconscious to communicate with us. Oftentimes we wake up from a dream, maybe it's a stress dream. That's a really great example of your subconscious kind of pushing forward, hey, I'm really worried about this. I'd like to bring it to the forefront of your attention for you to process or get clear on, because I'm not sitting right with it, right? And so over the next 11 years, with Neptune transiting your 12th house in the sign of Aries, it can signify this time where there can be some confusion or experiences that make you question or second guess aspects of your intuition, of your connection to the divine in some ways. And on the other side of the coin, it can kind of strengthen those things. So it's just something to consider. But ultimately, this eclipse is putting a spotlight, and there's this cosmic portal right now in your life when it comes to your spiritual path and your connection to your intuition. And what are these downloads that have you been having? And how can you take aligned steps with them? Basically, having aligned steps with your intuitive knowing. So as I'm saying this, has there been anything you've been picking up on of like, ooh, like I just know that would be so aligned if I did that, or if I spoke that, or if I questioned that, or if I stepped away from that, or if I sat down and acknowledged these ideas that have been coming up for me? Journaling right now, dream journaling right now, ooh, that is your fast track to understanding, y'all. So I am sending you my love, and I'm wishing you so much luck and happiness and joy and all the things. And again, check out the Spring Transit Guide custom to your sign, Taurus, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Gemini friends. So this lunation will be activating your 11th house. So we see the sun and moon in conjunction, having this solar eclipse, this amplified new moon, all in your 11th house of friendships, community, and collaboration and innovation. Think about when you're talking with your friends or with maybe your collaborators, people that you work with, maybe when you were in school and you share something and you have these cool conversations where you're like, really? Oh, you like that too? Oh, you like this type of food? Guess what? There's this restaurant over here that I think that you'll love. And oh, you like that? My friend went to Japan and they tried this thing. Do you know when you're going to travel? Because I can recommend things. Think about those conversations where you have conversations with friends and they build upon these ideas that you already had, whether it's encouraging you or sharing an idea that builds upon your idea. That's the epitome of the 11th house. And we have this portal for this brand new chapter for you that's going to be really existing and amplifying over the next 6 months in terms of this lunation, of these themes playing out. But ultimately, this window of time is a great time for intention setting when it comes to your friendships, your communities, your collaborative spaces, and envisioning what you want that to look like and taking aligned steps, how you're going to take aligned steps. You know, the new moon is a time for rest and reflection, so I don't want to say, go, 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 don't do that. But I'm saying that it's a good time to get clear on how you want to take aligned steps over the course of this lunar cycle to set the stage for this huge cosmic window that's happening in your 11th house. There's a lot of luck there. So really get clear on those things. This is also a great time to reflect on any sort of community, friendship, family dynamics that you do and maybe don't like, and where you might need to set boundaries to really foster an environment where you feel comfortable. We also see that Neptune on the 30th, the following day, will also be entering your 11th house when it enters Aries. And Neptune in the 11th house can, on one side of the coin, over the next 11 years, essentially, it can usher in a period of time where lines can kind of feel blurred when it comes to where you, like who you are and who your community is, who you are and who your friendships are and who your family is. And think about codependency, think about over people pleasing, maybe think about almost like copying, almost like all these examples of lines being blurred in some way. And I say that because, Neptune is a planet of illusions. It can be the planet of confusion sometimes. And that's on one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, this is signifying a new chapter that's strengthening your relationships, that's strengthening these things, that through potential challenges where you maybe need to get clear on your boundaries a lot more over the next 11 to 13 years of it being in Aries, it's also strengthening your ability to set boundaries. It's strengthening your ability to identify and distinguish who you are versus who other people are. But also, where those are also positive things, where think of the people who find an incredible nonprofit organization or an incredible group that supports people. Have you ever met people in your life who are like that, where they throw themselves into that? They're like, yo, this is my calling. This is what I love. I just want to be with them all the time. I want to support them in any way. And they volunteer all the time, or they start wearing t-shirts, or think about somebody who enters a running club and now their whole identity is running. That can be a positive thing too, right? Like the lines being blurred can sometimes be a positive thing, where it's like you finally find your community and that's all you want to be a part of. That is another side of the coin of how this can manifest for you, my Gemini friends. But with that said, I'm wishing you a beautiful new moon, and you can do it. And I love you. Okay, bye. Oh, also be sure to check out the spring transit guide custom to your rising sign. And yeah, all right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Cancer friends. So this new moon and eclipse will be creating this portal in your 10th house. It's activating your 10th house because we see the sun and moon throwing this party in conjunction in Aries in this house in your chart. And this house in the 10th house is the house of career. It's the house of your outer circle, the house of your reputation, the house of, okay, I've come this far in my life. I've learned a lot. I've seen different perspectives. I've really built up and fortified who I am. How am I going to bestow the lessons, skills, and ideas that I have onto the world? What is my contribution to the world? Like, what do I share? That's essentially the way that I describe the 10th house, right? And with this eclipse having this portal, this brand new start in your 11th house, it's signifying a beautiful opportunity for intention setting and reflecting on your career path, reflecting on your broader reputation, on whether or not your idea of your reputation has influenced your identity and your actions, and whether or not that's good. Think about worrying about, what are other people going to think? That's one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, it's thinking, how am I going to support and contribute to society in some way? Think about your ambitions. What are your broader ambitions, especially when it comes to career, but when it comes to what do you want to do in the world? Free will. What are we doing out here? How are we moving? What are we doing? Those are the things that are happening right now. This is a beautiful portal for reflecting on those things and intention setting on these things, because there's a huge sort of momentum that's happening in this space in your life if you decide to put intention into it. On the flip side, or not on the flip side, but we also see that Neptune, this planet of illusion, dreams, ideas, creativity, think fluidity, think mysticism, spirituality, things like that. It's entering your 10th house. So this can create a very beautiful time on one side of the coin. It can create an incredible time for dreaming up your biggest ambitions. I feel like the best prompt for y'all right now is, if I couldn't fail, what would I do? If I couldn't fail, what would I do? If I was the luckiest person in the world, what would I do? If maybe you don't identify with this right now, but if I was delusional, in the most constructive way, if I was truly delusional and I decided to just go for what my deepest desires are, how would that play out? Just journaling these things, just exploring what it looks like. Don't have too much fear about it. Oh, that's out of my comfort zone. What's going to happen? You're just journaling. You're just exploring it. It's the act of seeing it. You got to see it to believe it. You got to believe it to actualize it. You have to have an idea in your mind first, right? So that's what's coming up. On the flip side to Neptune transiting your 10th house over the next 13 plus years, there could be a bit of disillusionment. There could be a bit of unclear paths where as you're pushing forward and you're like, yo, this is what I'm going to do. And wow, I have this vision. There might be times that come up where, again, Neptune is a planet of illusions, where you might question things a bit and where you might feel like the path is not clear. But this is really a time where you're entering a time of blind faith. But there's so much power in blind faith. There's so much power in it. And you're going to, and the thing too is that on the other side of the coin of like, there's potential disillusionment or confusion, not seeing the path ahead, potentially in the 10th house. This is really fortifying your strength and that muscle of self-belief and that muscle of constructive delusion. And, think about when you decide what your major is for college or something like that. You have no idea how that's about to play out. You have no idea what the classes are going to be. You just have a vision of how you see yourself as an adult, right? And that ability to have those, and some might see it as delusion, right? Where you're like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. Somebody's like, you failed all your science classes. And you're like, I don't care. I'm going to figure it out because I want to be a veterinarian. And it's when you take those steps that the path becomes clear. Oh, this is another good thing that I wanted to mention to you is, oh man, it's worded so well, but basically action is what makes the path clear. Sitting around and overthinking it and saying to myself, I will take a step once I know the perfect way to do it. That is pure illusion. That is pure BS. That is pure fodder that our ego creates to keep us in our comfort zone. And you have to just show up. It is when you take a step forward that the path becomes clear. Imagine that. That's a really great way to see it too. Anyway, I'm talking a lot, but I hope that you have a beautiful lunation. I'm so excited for this new chapter for you, my Cancer friends. And yeah, be sure to check out the spring transit guide custom to your sign with all of the transits. All of them written out, getting the forecast all in one place. So you can just open it up, see what's going on. And that's it. But with that said, I am leaving you with a warm hug and I'll see you at the end of the video. Okay, bye. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Leo friends. So I'm like overly giddy and excited because I have this new mic. I don't know. It's just like, and this new background. I'm just trying to be creative with my videos and try new things. But all of that to say, I'm sitting by a window and there's cars going by. So I'm like, oh, hi, my neurospicy brain. Focus. Let's focus, y'all. Okay. So this eclipse is happening in your 9th house. So that means that the sun and moon are conjuncting in the sign of Aries, activating your 9th house. We also see that the Neptune will be entering your 9th house as well coming up, which is really interesting. And all of that to say, specifically for this eclipse is this cosmic portal, this brand new start for you. And this is a beautiful window of time for you to set intentions specifically on 9th house realms and ideas. So that has to do with expansion of your wisdom, expansion in terms of travel. Think about long-term, extended, long-distance travel. Think about all things expansion. The 9th house is all about looking at your life from a bird's eye view, not just being so locked into the day-to-day, but pausing to reflect on what is my life? Like what has this path been? What is the path forward? What are my core intentions? Are those intentions even mine? Like when I think of bird's eye view and zooming out to see the grand scheme of things, it can also bring a sense of calm. And you get this clarity of like, oh, those are sort of menial things that I was so annoyed by. But I like think about a relationship, right? Venus retrograde right now. Things can come up where you have to retrograde back to, you kind of have to circle back to past things because those are the things that we need to slow down and pay attention to, especially in relationships. And think about little nitpicky things that day to day, it's like, oh, this is so annoying. But when you zoom out and you look at your life and you're like, I'm so grateful to be around this person and to live this life with this person that I get to kind of have these little nitpicky things with. Or I'm so great, or like, wow, these are the people that have been on my path that I've been on their path, that sentimental aspect of things. So this eclipse is a powerful, potent time for intention setting and reflecting on aspects of expansion of the self, of ideas. So think about schooling. This can mark a new chapter with school. This can mark a new chapter with maybe going back to school or getting a certification of some kind. This can mark a new start and new ideas that are swirling around this time, around travel, around your ideas. A philosophical, political, spiritual views could be challenged, expanding your ideas where it's like, whoa, I did not think of it that way. These are the things that can come up right now. And intention setting in the realms of expanding those things, learning, maybe bestowing information onto others as well. This is a potent time for that. Now, on the other side of the coin, and by the way, I'm looking at my notes over here. If you're like, what is she looking at? Neptune is also going to be activating and transiting your 9th house for the next 13 years. Okay. 13 years, the planet of illusion, dreams, creativity. Think about water, the fluidity of it, illusion, like I mentioned, this dimension, the next spirituality. It's going to be entering your 9th house of wisdom, spiritual practices, travel, having a bird's eye view, having the broader view of things. So over the next 13 years, you will likely have experiences that kind of blur the lines when it comes to your ideas of wisdom and your knowledge, where maybe things get challenged a bit more over the next 13 years of, oh, actually, guess what? Did you hear about this spiritual practice in Peru that's been around for thousands of years that is actually totally aligned with this scientific information that came out 2 years ago? And it's completely changing the way that you view reality or relationships or psychology. These are the things that are likely going to pop up for you over the next 11 plus years. And this is the realm of your life, this 9th house themes, where you can set clear intentions with and lean into this Neptune energy of being creative and envisioning what you want to set these intentions. Now, I do want to remind you, new moons in general, along with solar eclipses, are this time for rest and reflection. You have to rest. You have to draw your energy back to yourself. You have to reflect in order to see the path ahead, in order to better understand and integrate the lessons that you have learned from the previous lunar cycle and your life in general from a bird's eye view. So the most potent thing you can do right now, my Leo friends, is going to be sitting and reflecting and exploring those things, exploring how you have stepped outside of your comfort zone in the past. What did that look like? What worked? What didn't work? These are the most potent things to reflect on right now. There's a lot of energy in this space, new chapters coming forward, and I'm really excited for you. But with all of that said, I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget to check out the spring transit guide. If you like custom readings like this, I literally have them written out for all the top transits of the spring season. So basically for like 3.5 months plus, the top 25 transits custom to your rising sign. Go check it out. Okay. All right. I'll see y'all. My Virgo friends, hello, and welcome in. And welcome into this new chapter for you, this cosmic new chapter where we see that this solar eclipse, this new moon, the sun and moon conjunct in Aries, they will be activating your 8th house of intimacy, shared resources, relationships, vulnerability, shadows, and the vulnerability of sharing those shadows, of acknowledging those shadows to have a deeper relationship with others, but maybe even a deeper relationship with yourself. Think about shadow work. Think about Scorpio being associated with a taboo. This is the house of Scorpio as well, the 8th house. And you're having an eclipse activating, creating this portal, this brand new chapter in your life when it comes to these things, when it comes to the intimacy and the vulnerability of sharing resources with others as well. The 8th house is also the house of other people's money. From a monetary perspective, think about loans. Think about if you're starting a business and people are buying your services or your products. This is other people's money. All of that to say, there's this new portal opening, this new chapter opening within this realm of your life. So for you, my Virgo friends, this could mean new relationships, but what's coming up is existing relationships and deepening the connections there. And the thing about the deepening of connections and the thing about having deeper intimacy is that a lot of times what is needed to have intimacy is vulnerability. So for you around the time of this new moon or over the next lunar cycle, this could look like you bringing up to somebody, hey, I'm going to call you out because you did this and it hurt my feelings, and having to have a really vulnerable conversation where you tell somebody, hey, that hurt my feelings. Like for a lot of people pleasers and people who are avoidant in nature or, fawning, there's fawning, who are afraid to have important conversations. These are the type of conversations that might arise in order for you to have this deeper intimacy, right? So all of that to say, around the time of this new moon, if you want to set intentions, if you want to really ride this wave and align with this energy of this new chapter, my Virgo friends, I think that pausing to reflect on your own shadows, pausing to reflect on your own fears, maybe that's people pleasing, maybe that isn't, pausing to reflect on maybe other people in your life where you have tried to have deeper connections and maybe they weren't open to it, how you want to navigate those things in order to co-create environments where you feel safe, heard, and the like, long-term relationships. A big reason why a lot of family long-term relationships aren't very healthy is because there's a dynamic where people don't pause to actually open up and talk and work through things and have deeper levels of trust through intimacy, through opening up about things, right? And so when you're at this, and so this new moon is signifying this opportunity to set intentions for what are your ideals in these realms. There can be a rebirth through deeper bonds. There can be a rebirth even through financial ties, where there might be some type of collaboration in the works or something that has been happening already where there's going to be opportunities right now, in fact, is an opportunity, getting clear on what are your ideals? What does it look like for you to feel aligned with relationships on an intimate level? And journal about that. What does it look like to feel safe, to open up and be vulnerable with anybody in your life? What does that look like for you? Are there spaces where they're perfect, where you enjoy it and you're happy? Journal about that. Get clear on that, because that's how you put out that energy to get more of it back. Now, the other part of this reading that I wanted to mention is that Neptune will be also entering your 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, vulnerability, shadows, the taboo, hidden depths. And Neptune is a planet of illusions. It's a planet of dreaming, idealism. And so when it enters the 8th house, it can be this indicator that there might be blurred lines when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to deeper connections, when it comes to shared resources. And so it'll be important to, over the next 13 years that it's transiting this sign, to pay attention to those things, And also on one side of the coin, this could mean that it's kind of confusing, where these relationships, there might be an uptick in confusion where you question things a bit more. But on the flip side, in my opinion, Neptune transiting this house could present opportunities for you to get more clear on your boundaries and on your standards and on the sort of more structured sort of predictability that leaves you feeling comfortable as well, because you're working through potential illusions to get clear on things. It's almost like these things arise for you and it's how you respond to them, right? So all of that to say, I'm really excited for you, my Virgo friends, and for you to set intentions with your deepest relationships. We have Venus retrograde right now, potentially bringing up relationship themes, things that you need to retrograde or circle back to in your relationship. So I think that this is really notable for you. And if you notice things coming up in relationships, it's no coincidence. These are the type of things to pay attention to. But with all that said, I will see you in the next one. And remember to check out the spring transit guide that is custom to your rising sign. It is 25 transits and what they mean for your rising sign all in one place. And yeah, all right, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Libra friends. So this eclipse, this sun-moon conjunction in Aries, along with Neptune, it'll be happening in your, I'm sorry, I'm hitting the mic. I'm sorry if that makes noise. It'll be activating and transiting your 7th house of relationships, one-on-one dynamics, equitability, justice, and overall balance when it comes to your connections with others. So from the eclipse perspective, this basically means that this will be a potent time, a potent cosmic window for a brand new chapter of your life to start fresh and to idealize, get clear on just in your imaginative space, what it is that you want to see in your relationships. What does it look like for your relationships to feel balanced, to feel equitable? What does that look like for you? What does it look like also for you to maybe not overextend yourself too much or cause other people to overextend themselves too much in order to find this balance? And obviously balance looks different for everybody, right? Think about relationships or think about roommates, right? For some roommates, it works better that one person does the dishes because they're cool with doing the dishes and the other person vacuums and mops because they're cool with mopping, right? Some people see it For some people, that's what balance looks like. For other people, it's like, no, it has to be 50-50. That's just an example to paint this picture of exploring what balance looks like for you. So this is a potent window to imagine what that looks like for you, set intentions, and as the light builds on the surface of the moon all the way to its light peak and energetic peak at the full moon, so too can the intentions that you set around your relationships at this time also build. And this is an Aries lunation. So it's about drive, fire, thinking about you and what your needs are and advocating for those things. The other aspect that I wanted to bring up is that Neptune will also be entering your 7th house. And so it'll be in that house for the next 13 years, which is really activating a lot of stuff when it comes to potential illusions or blurred lines when it comes to your relationships. And so on one side of the coin, that can present more challenges where you feel a bit more confused in your relationships. You feel more confused about what is balance, what is maybe overcompensating, what is codependence. These are the things that could come up with Neptune transiting your 7th house of relationships. On the other side of the coin, this can also look like, I'm just double checking certain things. I changed my camera a bit. So I'm like, wait, is this working? But on the other side of the coin, this can also look like you strengthening your relationships through dealing with potential blurred lines, potential, mismatch in boundaries where you have to kind of advocate for yourself a bit more. But it's through working through those things that you kind of strengthen those muscles of knowing what you want and what you don't want. So it's about how you approach these potential blurred lines in your relationships. But again, Neptune is also this planet of idealism, of imagination, where you can use your imagination to your benefit. Use it in a constructive way where you're really, really crystal clear with your ideals and you know how your life can look like. You can see it so much more clearly with Neptune in your 7th house, and you can work with that. So those are the things that are coming up for you, my Libra friends. I'm wishing you a beautiful new chapter, new eclipse. I'm wishing you so much luck and love and confidence in setting these intentions. Really imagine what would it look like if you couldn't lose, if you had so much luck when it came to pursuing and creating and co-creating the dynamics that you want in your relationships. But all of that to say, I want to remind you of the spring transit guide and that you can get it custom to your rising sign, all 25 transits of the spring season, what they mean for you, custom to you. Be sure to check it out. It's the first of its kind. It's a digital download, so you get it instantly. And that's it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Hello to my Scorpio friends. So this new moon and eclipse, so the sun and moon conjuncting together in Aries, will be activating your 6th house of routines, your health, your sense of service, how you give back to others, your house of structure, of rituals, rhythms, patterns, what you go back to. And we'll also see that Neptune will also be entering your 6th house the following day on March 30th. So with that said, let's start with the eclipse. So we're seeing this brand new portal, this opportunity for a new chapter, fresh starts, fresh energy when it comes to your routines. And my Scorpio friends, this is a beautiful time for setting intentions and reflecting on your relationship with ritual, with routine, with structure, with how you consistently show up for yourself and others, especially when it pertains to your home life, especially when it pertains to your health. And so that can look like around the time of this new moon, things coming to the forefront of your awareness that draw you back to, oh, man, if I kind of reworked my routine or my schedule, this could flow so easily. And what that looks like. And for me, as a neurospicy person, hearing the idea of routines and structure and schedules, that doesn't always vibe with me. And so I'm saying this for anybody else who also thinks that. And I just want to remind you that your routines and your schedule, your rituals, those can be custom to who you are. And new moons are a time of rest and reflection. And it's namely this time to reflect on the past, reflecting on what has and hasn't worked in those realms. It can be so powerful to pause and ask yourself, what's something that I have consistently shown up for in the past in some way, and how can I co-create that or create that again, custom to me, really reflecting on making it custom to you. That's important. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that Neptune entering the sign or the house, the 6th house, can indicate that on one side of the coin, there can be a bit more blurred lines and illusions and maybe having your head in the clouds a bit too much when it comes to your routine and your structure, your health, your ideals, where you're not maybe fully consistent or grounded in these things, or there's more challenges that come up that kind of blur the lines or make you maybe a bit more inconsistent. That's what's coming up. But on the other side of the coin, Neptune entering your sixth house can actually make it so that your ideals and what you want and what you envision for yourself is crystal clear. And it's actually easier for you to take more aligned steps that aren't, veering off to the right or the left, but straightforward, because you can see it a bit more clearly with Neptune being there, where essentially, this air of illusion and of idealism and imagination can come up, but it's about how we work with it, right? So we can let it blur the lines and make it, and let it kind of take us in this dreamy realm of passivity and escapism. But there can also be this approach to it where we're approaching it from a more constructive realm, where we actually lean into these ideals and we utilize these ideals to actualize these paths that are unique to us and aligned with what we want versus what other people want, if that makes sense. So I'm so excited for you, my Scorpio friends. I really invite you to lean into your imagination, lean into your experiences, lean into the feedback that you've gotten in the past when it comes to exploring and setting new intentions for this new astrological new year, this new season, this spring season, Aries season, this new lunar cycle, and these fresh starts that you can have around this time, especially when it comes to health. Getting clear, this can be such a potent time for reflecting on your health journey and what it looks like to really nourish yourself and lean into those things as well. But I'm sending you my love and I'm wishing you a beautiful eclipse. And I want to remind you of the spring transit guide, the digital download that I created custom to your rising sign that has basically your custom forecasts for all of spring's top transits, 25 transits. So be sure to check it out, support the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Sagittarius friends. This eclipse, the new moon and the sun will be conjuncting all in the fifth house of your charts, the house of pleasure, creativity, and romance. And I'm looking off to my notes on the side here. But it's a beautiful house to be having this fresh cosmic start in, this portal for this new journey, new energy that you can have moving forward. And also at the beginning of the new the astrological new year, the Aries season, the spring season, this fresh start. And this eclipse can be a beautiful time for setting intentions and reflecting in the past of what worked for you in terms of how you have expressed joy, how you have indulged in love, playfulness, your inner child, your inner creativity, not having judgment, but allowing those things to flow through. What does it look like to be outspoken a little bit? In any realm of your life. That doesn't have to necessarily mean being like super outgoing or extroverted, but being outspoken in what you love, what creatively sets you on fire. This is an Aries new moon. Aries is cardinal. It's driven. It's about advocating for yourself. It's about distinguishing you versus other, really speaking up for yourself. And it's in this fifth house sign of Leo, which is also about leadership and about expressing yourself and allowing yourself to shine through. And so this eclipse is this beautiful cosmic window for intention setting in the space. And you'll also likely notice experiences that have to do with playfulness, love, joy, the inner child, and really advocating for yourself in some way in that way. But we also see that Neptune, the planet of illusions, dreams, spirituality, this realm and the next, dreams, creativity, it'll be entering your fifth house the following day on March 30th. And on one side of the coin, that could mean that when it comes to your self-expression, when it comes to your identity and your connection to your inner child. And what I mean by your inner child, I basically mean your authentic self, the core person that's underneath maybe the layers of sort of shielding that you put up because of life experiences, or the masks and the alterations to your personality that you might have put on so you could go along to get along. What's fully underneath that? What are the creative or the general ideas that flow through that you're like, oh, you know what? Okay. And those ideas that ignite you before any limiting beliefs come in to be like, well, I don't see anybody else doing that. Well, that's kind of weird. Think about those things. On one side of the coin, with Neptune entering this fifth house, of that realm, it could blur those lines and make you potentially even question those things, or kind of feel like you're not sure like what your authentic self is in some experiences over the next 13 years, because it's going to be in Aries in your fifth house until 2038, I believe. But on the other side of the coin, Neptune being in this house could actually make it so you tap into your creativity and your idealism and your imagination even more. And you actually lean into those ideas of, potential illusion from a constructive perspective. And you find more magical romance, more idealism, especially with love and relationships over the next I was going to say 38 years, 13 years. But all that to say, I'm really excited for you, my Sagittarius friends. And I really invite you to lean into exploring what it looks like for you allowing your creative, your inner child to flow through more and expressing those things more and leaning into your imagination more, and the power that can be. Within that. But with that said, I'm sending you my love, and I'm reminding you of the spring transit guide that I made for all rising signs. You can get it custom to your rising sign, and it has all custom forecasts for all of spring's top transits custom to you. So be sure to check it out. It's a digital download. You get it instantly, and it supports the channel. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Hello to my Capricorn friends. I am very excited for you and this eclipse and new moon, the solar eclipse and new moon happening, activating your fourth house as it throws this party in the sign of Aries in your fourth house. Now, the fourth house is all about your inner circle. It's all about your home life. It's the house of the family. It's a house of your roots. It's a house of your experiences that kind of built you up to who you are and where you are now in a lot of ways. And so when we see an eclipse and a new moon happening in your fourth house, it really signifies this new chapter that is underway through experiences that will likely happen around this time and through intentions that you set around this time that will likely be in the realm of your closer circle, of potentially your family, of your home. Think about nesting, think about your immediate living space. Think about your sanctuary, aspects of those things. So I think that around this time, you might notice pretty notable shifts within your domestic life. So that could be your relationships, whether romantic or familial or with closer friends. Think about your neighborhood even. There could be shifts, and whether, and also within your inner life, your inner identity that was maybe dependent on those things or really strongly connected to those things. And so this can be a very powerful portal in time for intention setting around the dynamics that you wish to see within these immediate realms of your immediate circle, of your immediate space. This can be a beautiful time for a spring cleaning sort of reset in your home, and you might notice how powerful of an impact there can be in simply cleaning things up or even moving things around in your home. It's really, there's a whole subsect of, I think it's sociology. I think it's like cultural anthropology that's all about the psychological impact of our architecture, of the layout of our homes, of the layout of our furniture, of where we put mirrors and pictures, and what those things signify psychologically in us when we see them, when we move around in them. And what comes to mind actually that I think is relevant here is the power of changing up your routine after a trip. Because when you leave and you're out of your day-to-day routine for long enough, you don't have all of these sort of environmental cues kind of reinforcing the routines and the thought processes that you have on a regular basis. Think of the unconscious sort of routines that you have and habits, and how when you leave that for a while, you kind of break out of that sort of like mind maze of your house that's kind of reinforcing those habits and those thoughts. And you have this opportunity to come back and think of it in a different way. And in a way to kind of activate that and kind of start a new chapter for you could potentially be a spring cleaning, moving things around a bit, finally, moving things in a way that you've been wanting to do for a while, finally putting up those pictures that are inspiring to you, that artwork that inspires you, or putting up that mirror that brings a bit more light into the room, or moving a mirror so that you're not always looking at yourself. These are the type of things that could come up with a fourth house activation in an eclipse time. And these things are going to be coming up. These themes will be coming up over the next 6 months in terms of the eclipse. But we also see that Neptune, will be entering your fourth house and will stay there for the next 13 years, y'all. So that's another interesting thing to think about. And when it comes to Neptune being in this house, Neptune can tend to bring in blurred lines, a bit more illusions, a bit more potentially over idealizing things, but also idealizing things in a good way, in a constructive way, where you get clear on what you really want and you actually take aligned steps with it. And so on one side of the coin, with Neptune being in your fourth house, it could mean that there's potentially more codependence in your inner circle, in your family life, where there's, blurred lines with where boundaries are, where things come up over the next 13 years, where you're called to kind of flex that muscle of setting boundaries in that space. There could be blurred lines in terms of your home life and what that looks like. It could show up in a lot of different ways, but ultimately that's one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, you could get really clear on what it is, what your ideals are with your family dynamics. Maybe there's expansion in your home. Some of you might see that either you or siblings or family members have children. There's an expansion potentially in your more immediate circle in that way. And that could bring up a lot of stuff, whether it's through a new child or not. This conversation in your head or with others about what's the kind of family dynamic, what's the type of inner circle that I want to co-create? What's the type of environment that I want to co-create? A lot of those things can come up and that can be very good. So it's really interesting, but I'm wishing you a beautiful eclipse time, my Capricorn friends. A reminder to tread lightly with, relationship stuff because Venus is still retrograde, Mercury is still retrograde. Watch what you say, reread those emails, pause to reflect on if you're bothered by a message or if you read it the wrong way. Sometimes we misinterpret things. So that's just a reminder I felt called to tell you, but I'm sending you my love and a reminder to check out the Spring Transit Guide, the Auraline Spring Transit Guide. It is a digital download you get immediately, and it is custom to your rising sign, all of the top transits of the spring season. I think it's over 25 transits, custom to your rising sign. So you can get a forecast and it's all in the same PDF download. So check it out, support the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. Hello, and welcome into my Aquarius friends. Oop, I'm by a window and I have, I wrote some notes to reference, but this lunation, this new moon, will be activating your third house of information exchange, communication, learning, siblings, and short-term travel. And it will also be there throwing a little party, Sun Moon conjunct in Aries in your third house. Neptune will also be entering your third house the following day on the 3rd. So on the 30th. But let's start with the eclipse. So with this new portal being opened, in your third house, this new chapter being open at the start of the astrological new year, at the start of the spring season, this new moon, this new lunar cycle, it's signifying new beginnings when it comes to you expressing yourself. Think about writing, think about speaking, think about learning. It could look like you taking a class or a workshop, or maybe going to a trade show, a convention, a meetup, where you're having really great ideas. A lot of ideas are flowing right now. You're learning a lot right now. And there's this opportunity to express yourself a bit more than maybe you have in the past, my Aquarius friends. And there's this new chapter here. So this can be a very potent time for intention setting on how you communicate, how you express yourself, how you hold space for other people communicating. And also, namely, I feel like your openness to learning, things and maybe being proven wrong in some situations, and being open to new ideas. And there's a lot of information there. And I think that especially when it comes to any intentions or goals that you have, there's this new chapter being open when it comes to learning how to actualize those things. What comes up is the ignorance tax. I don't know if you've ever heard of this concept, but it's a really good one. And I learned it in terms of entrepreneurial endeavors, being a content creator, in that when you're an entrepreneur, you're a content creator, there's a lot of stuff that you need to learn that you don't have a structured school to learn it in. So you kind of have to learn it as you go or find the right resources to do it. And in that time, as you're maybe running your business, as you're doing something that's a bit more independent, there might be a lot of stuff that you don't know. And it could actually be slowing you down. And that's what the ignorance tax is. It's like, I'm paying extra in extra time, extra effort, because I'm ignorant to the fact that there's actually a way easier way to do this. And it's coming up because I feel like for you, my Aquarius friends, you could set a really potent intention and set new set up a new chapter for yourself that's really aligned with learning, with asking questions, with going to events or asking friends, or maybe finally getting that therapist or finally finding that mentor or finally asking for help for the people that you know could help you, but maybe you haven't asked yet, to get their insights and learn. On the flip side, you might notice over the next 6 months in general that there's a lot of opportunities where people want to learn from you. And there's opportunities there, but there's a lot of expansion when it comes to your third house realm of communication, learning, and again, siblings. You might notice that there's a fresh start with siblings. That could mean that your siblings might have kids or your siblings might move. You might hear some new news around your inner circle, like your closer people who you deem as siblings, maybe not by blood, but by choice. But yeah, the other thing is that with Neptune entering your third house, y'all, it's giving narrow spicy. It's giving having a hard time focusing, not going to lie. On one side of the coin, Neptune entering your third house can make it so there's a bit of fuzzy focus. But it's essentially over the next 13 years, there's going to be a big motivation to lean into your intuition and to not always have the strongest clarity, because Neptune is the planet of illusions, dreams, having your head in the clouds, imagination. And on one side of the coin, that can make you very idealistic and help you to put words to your ideal reality and express what you want in a lot of ways. You know, this is an Aries new moon, so this is about speaking and advocating for yourself. On the other side of the coin, there could be a bit more confusion there. And so it's about getting clear with your intuition and leaning into that maybe more than having all of the answers all of the time, because Neptune can create a bit of blurred lines there. But ultimately, there's a lot of potential there. And again, this is a brand new cosmic window, a new chapter for you, with these themes being at the forefront, where experiences might come up with potentially even miscommunication. You know, Mercury is retrograde right now. Mercury rules over the third house of communication, learning, information exchange. So you might notice aspects of Mercury retrograde being amplified for you right now, but ultimately they're tied to lessons that are helping you take aligned steps in this new chapter of expansion with the intentions that you set right now. So I'm really excited for you, and I'm sending you my love. And just a reminder of the spring transit guide that I made. It's a digital download. You get it immediately, and it's custom readings, forecasts for all of spring, custom to your rising sign. So you can go grab it now, support the channel. I think you'll like it. Anyway, let me know what you think about this video format, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hello. Last but not least, welcome into my Pisces friends. This lunation, this solar eclipse and new moon, will be activating your second house of finances, money, self-worth, the worth and value monetarily, but the worth and value that you have within yourself and in relationships, along with possessions, what your values are. And so when we see an eclipse in this house, it can signify a new chapter when it comes to your finances and your self-worth, how you value yourself in a lot of ways. And this can manifest in a lot of ways. This can manifest in finally learning a bunch of stuff when it comes to your financial wellness, when it comes to your finances in general, finally learning things and being like, you know what? I have a new budget now. I am excited in this new moon, this new lunar cycle. I'm getting clear on what my budget is. I'm getting clear on what my savings are, what my emergency fund is, what's a Roth IRA, what's a high yield savings account. What are all of these things? What are these ways? So I think a lot of that stuff can show up for you, my Pisces friends, where you're entering this new chapter of more financial literacy for many of you. I think for many of you around this time, there can be things that kind of come up where, especially with Neptune entering your second house the following day on the 30th, things could come up where you're realizing, oh, I was very unclear when it came to these financial things. I was very unclear with my self-worth. I didn't realize how reliant I was. My self-worth was how reliant it was on my finances, on how people view me on social media, how my friends view me, how my family views me. And now I'm realizing this aspect of my self-worth in a different light. These are the type of experiences that can come up around the time of this eclipse. And if you hear meowing, I don't know if you can hear the meowing, but my cat has a toy in her mouth and she wants me to play with her. Not now, I'm working. I'm working, my daughter. I'm working. We need to make a living, okay? Anyway, I don't know if you can hear, I might sound crazy. Anyway, the other aspect of this reading that I wanted to mention is that Neptune is going to be activating your second house as well. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion, idealism, dreams, sometimes escapism, but sometimes you can utilize that idealism in a creative way, in a constructive way, and you can get really clear on what you envision for yourself to take aligned steps with those dreams. But so on one side of the coin, with Neptune being in this house, and by the way, I'm looking over at my notes, it will be important to watch your spending, okay? Really, and really get clear and aligned with your values. You know, Neptune being in the sign for the next 13 years, it being in this house, in your second house, transiting your second house, it could signify some blurred lines when it comes to your finances, where you really need to get clear on budget. You really need to get clear on what you truly value. What are your top priorities? Let's put finances aside. What are your top priorities? What do you value most in life? What do you care most about? Is it quality time? Is it feeling a sense of safety and peace in general? Is it, you know, travel? Is it having novel experiences? Is it having a really nice house, really good shelter? What are your highest priorities? Is it time freedom? Is it financial freedom? What are those things? Getting clear on those things is really, really potent around this time, my Pisces friends. And intention setting right now and reflecting on these things can really set you up for a beautiful new lunar cycle, a new chapter cosmically with this eclipse portal, and a new spring season, a new astrological new year. These are the areas that are going to be most potent for you to set intentions in. And again, this is an Aries eclipse. So this is all about, number one, looking out for you. What are your values? How can you advocate for yourself? But with that said, I'm sending you my love. I want to remind you guys about the spring transit guide that I made, where you get custom transit forecast for all of spring's top transits, custom to your rising sign. It's a digital download. You get it immediately upon ordering. And yeah, I'm sending you my love. I hope you check it out, support the channel, but you can also just hit a like on the video if you enjoyed this. And let me know what you think about, you know, this new background, all the things. And I'm sending you my love. Peace. All right, y'all. As a part of this new video format, I think that I'm just going to have the journal prompts in the video description. So you can just go over there, copy and paste them. And yeah, but I will say, I will answer one of the prompts. One of them is, what would it look like for you to advocate for yourself more and your personal needs more, if you haven't already been doing that already? And I want to share a little story for you guys. So I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I want to share a little bit of this story with you guys, especially in the context of an Aries new moon, because this is a new chapter that has a lot to do with advocating for ourselves and others, you know, really speaking up for our personal needs, distinguishing ourselves and who we are from others, you know, and having that fiery leadership sort of energy in some ways. And I personally realized for myself, when I was people pleasing, I realized that I was also contributing to co-creating dynamics that I didn't like, because I was not advocating for myself. And so when I was feeling resentment and I was feeling upset about certain social dynamics, I also had to pause and reflect on how I also co-created that. Because through people pleasing, I'd say, no, it's fine. Oh no, you know, we can wait this long, even though I really didn't want to wait. Or, hey, we can do this. Really, again, co-creating dynamic where there's a lot of people who are very honest and kind people who are literally just picking up on cues. We're all picking up on cues from one another. And when we're around people who are saying, hey, it's fine to do that, then that's what we're going to do. You know, people don't sit and think deeply about certain things that have to do with you as much as you do with yourself. And that's why it's your job to communicate your needs, right? And so that was just something that came up for me because I've been advocating for myself more and taking more responsibility in that space. And obviously, you know, it's not good to internalize, right? And to make it all your responsibility. But that leads me to the other thing I wanted to share, which is that I've had some experiences where I finally open up with friends and I let them know where I'm at. And I ask them, hey, you know, I've been feeling this, what's up there? And what's so great about having those heart-to-hearts, even though they can be incredibly scary for people pleasers, is that no matter what, you leave those conversations with clarity. No matter what, you leave with so much more clarity. And what I mean by that is, if if the conversation goes south, so to speak, where they're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't like that, and like basically they're rigid, or they don't want to change, or they don't want to open up, or you notice that they're maybe not being honest, or whatever, there's pushback. That's information. That is clear-cut information that you can work with. That is way more clear than not speaking up at all, and then having an inner dialogue of like, I don't like this, but what about this, and what will they think? Now you know. And then on the other side of the coin, it can be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you felt that way. Thank you for letting me know. Here's more context into that experience that you weren't sure about. Like, that's the other path it can go. And again, more clarity. But it's through this clarity, it's through these conversations that you strengthen your own ability to have conversations. You're also creating evidence in your mind, experiences that your mind will always pull back to of, hey, I had a heart-to-heart before, and I didn't die, like I survived. I got clarity from that. And at least for me, no matter what has happened in the conversations, once I finally work up the courage to have certain conversations, it has completely left me feeling more confident in a lot of ways, regardless of the path that the conversation takes. Anyway, that's all for today, y'all. I want to remind you of the spring guide. Let me know what you think about this new background. I'm in a swivelly chair, and I love it so much. There's so many cool parts of my house that I literally have never shared with you, and I just want to share. Yeah, I have vinyls up on the wall over here, and I have my record player over here, and you can see this right here is the current record that is being played. And this is my little swivelly chair where I come to read sometimes. And anyway, if you made it to the end, I would love if you commented 3 fire emojis signifying the fire sign of Aries. Or let me know again what you think about this new sort of video format, more stream of consciousness, less teleprompter, so my authentic personality and authentic clear downloads and readings come through. Let me know of this background. But I also want to leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Peace.